But what is your overall impression from what you've seen of these recent filings last week?
Well, like I said, it's a real show of force. What Evan had brought in support of her motion was just a declaration that is largely unsubstantiated by much of anything. I mean, she filed a thumb drive of the Phoenix documentary as if that's supposed to have some kind of, substantial value. And it's funny because she doesn't even say like everything I said in this documentary is true. She doesn't even incorporate it, under oath. It's just kind of this, oh, and here's this documentary, by the way.
That's so funny. Now that's what she that's what she filed. She filed this, like, you're talking about something that she filed what, a month ago or so ago?
Yeah, when she filed her anti-SLAPP motion, she
Right.
filed a declaration in support of it. And so it was thin gruel. A lot of kind of what we got used to seeing with Amber Heard, that there's a lot of words but not a lot to back them up. So Evan is really expecting everyone to just take her statements at face value and not really look beyond those.
Well,
And so
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I'm glad that you mentioned that how weak Evan's evidence is, because there have been a number of people who've said to me, why are you taking Marilyn Manson's lawsuit or his evidence at face value and not Evan Rachel Wood? Well, Evan Rachel Wood hasn't shown any evidence.
yeah, because he's presented some. No, I agree completely. And that's what this filing from last week has really put into such sharp contrast, is that unlike Evan Rachel Wood, Marilyn Manson has a lot more than just his own statement to rely on. Yes, he filed a declaration denying that he has done these things that he's been accused of. But that's really not the attention grabbing thing in this motion at all. It's all of the extrinsic evidence, the documentary things, the information that is coming to him from third-party witnesses that is making the compelling case that, when you look at the weight of what is out there right now, he has just so clearly outgunned her with his evidence, that it is starting to look pretty damning for her.
So someone asked me to ask you, is the gist of what Marilyn Manson's team was wanting with the filings last week, is the gist of it that they want more time for discovery, or what are they wanting exactly?
Yeah, so they're asking for permission to do discovery basically altogether. One of the features of the anti-SLAPP motion in California is that it automatically stays discovery. So that's kind of one of the upsides to it, from the perspective of someone who has things to hide. But it's a little bit awkward in this particular case, since the case is going to go forward no matter what. The anti-SLAPP motion doesn't challenge all of his claims. So some of them are going to survive, even if Evan and Illma won the motions like entirely. The case is still going to go forward. They're still going to have to be deposed. So what he's doing is he's basically asking for permission to be able to do this additional discovery at this point in time in order to make his showing on the anti-SLAPP claim. He has to basically be able to present evidence that the court's going to look at it and assume all of this is believable. If it's reasonably likely to be admissible at trial, then we'll consider it. And if based on all of that, he would be able to prove all of his causes of action, then he's going to defeat the anti-SLAPP motion. So it looks like what he's really trying to do is nail down what he's going to be able to get, the extent to which he's going to be able to get those documents that he's, obtained from the iPad into evidence as well, to be able to show, these aren't things that have been photoshopped or altered or whatever, since they were on Illma's laptop. Who knew? Who knows what was done with them?
Right.
And then obviously Evan Rachel Wood and Illma, get them on record with how the hell do you explain all of this stuff?
Okay, and so basically, is this sort of just a normal legal process where I mean, is this normal? Everything that's going on so far? There's nothing out of the ordinary?
I mean, it seems pretty normal to me. The anti-slap really front loads a lot of stuff, and because it puts him in that position of he's got to basically show his cards at this point, and he doesn't necessarily have, you know, the hand hasn't been dealt. You know, we're only like on the turn right now.
Right.
So it's normal in that sense. What to me is a little bit abnormal, I guess, is just really this filing, from my perspective, this was a real show of force. I mean,
Really?
in comparison to what was brought to substantiate the anti-slaps so far. As we saw, Illma didn't even go under oath, which is a very interesting choice, and frankly, probably the smarter one in my view.
Now, what do you mean she didn't go under oath?
She did not submit a sworn declaration. Evan submitted a sworn declaration in support of her anti-slap motion. And, you know, that's where she made the statements that she denies falsifying the FBI letter, and she believed it was authentic when she received it. Well, now she's going to have to explain those things. And the more that comes out, you know, the really trickier it's looking like it's going to be able to explain that. So Illma hasn't made that mistake of kind of stepping in that hole, you know, right out of the outset.
Did Evan have to make a statement, or could she have done what Illma has done, or why the difference there?
The difference there appears to be because Evan is specifically challenging the FBI letter as one of the bases for the causes of action. She is basically taking the position that she thought it was legitimate, so she filed it in court. You can't sue her for filing it in court. And then she denies that she showed it to anybody beyond that. Illma is not challenging the FBI letter. That is also kind of a notable divergence of strategy here. And it's basically because with what Marilyn Manson was able to show in his initial complaint, with that, like that text message showing them comparing, you know, showing them composing it and stuff, it's obviously pretty damaging and pretty compelling. So there's really no choice, if you're going to try to fight that and get that thrown out, than to challenge it on his ability to prove it. And that means having to deny it. So that's why Evan Rachel Wood has taken that approach, because she's trying to get the FBI letter out of the case.
Are you saying it's almost kind of like Illma is ceding that or conceding that then by not challenging it? Okay.
Yeah, Illma's not challenging that. If Illma's motion were granted, all of that would still go forward.
Now, I wonder what Evan Rachel Wood is going to try to, or where she's going to try to claim she got the fake FBI letter if she's claiming that she herself did not devise it.
Well, and that's where this divergence of strategy between Evan and Illma might become telling, right? Because this is, you know, commonly the point in the prisoner's dilemma when the walls are closing in, that now, you know, the question is just who is going to turn on the other, and how quickly, and in what epic fashion. So, I mean, yes, I fully expect Evan is going to try to blame Illma for it. Illma is going to blame Evan for it. There's going to be massive finger pointing, and at least from what we've seen, assuming we can take it at face value, I mean, it looks pretty clear that they were both in on it. So it's just,
and I would think that from Marilyn Manson's perspective, or his legal team's perspective, it's very, very good for him to have both of these women in the position where they are now basically opposed to each other, right? I mean, where there's
yeah, absolutely. I mean, divide and conquer is, of course, is going to be a better strategy, particularly when it, you know, assuming his theory of the case is correct, and this is all just this constructed hoax that they thought up and perpetrated together, then each of them has a lot of damning information about the other. And so as they themselves become more and more threatened by what is about to transpire, they just have more and more incentive to get the other person's dirty laundry out as, you know, an evasion to take the attention off of themselves.
Right. And of course, since they're both such shady, dishonest people, they both have a lot of fodder to work with. Of course, I would think Evan has more to work with than Illma. So from a legal perspective, do you think at this point that he has I mean, I know you said he's shown a lot of evidence, and does it seem like it's shaping up to be a strong case? Is this something where Evan Rachel Wood, her lawyer, and Illma Gore's lawyers are really going to have a tough time with this?
I don't see how they wouldn't. I mean, we don't know, of course, the stuff that's going on in the background, and I can kind of project what some of the strategies are going to be. I'm sure there's going to be a jettisoning of Ashley Morgan Smithline. You know, her credibility is going to be thrown under the bus by them. I expect similarly there's going to be efforts to undermine Brighton, suggest that Brighton has some you know, bad motive, or just for whatever reason isn't credible.
So Brighton, for our viewers, Brighton is Illma Gore's sister, and apparently it seems in these recent filings by Marilyn Manson's team that she is the source for a number of these pieces of evidence from Illma. So we were wondering, you know, wow, how do they get screenshots of Illma's texts and emails and stuff? And so now we know it was her sister, whom apparently, if you believe Marilyn Manson's lawsuit, who's been the victim of Illma as well.
Yeah. And so Brighton had been given an old broken iPad by Illma. And
it's like Hunter Biden's laptop. People need to nail this stuff down, stop giving it away.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if she thought that that Brighton was never going to be able to get this thing running, or just what her idea was, but Brighton was able to get it running, and then, you know, found an enormous, I mean, evidence trove. It sounds like just all kinds of documentation of the types of things that they had been getting up to.
Yeah, here's a life lesson for people. Don't leave an incriminating iPad.
Just pro tip. So these are the types of things that you can imagine would pose a little bit of a challenge for the legal teams of Illma Gore and Evan Rachel Wood. They're just at a point now where the disparity between who is bringing evidence and who is not is becoming very stark. And so it's starting to be put up or shut up time. They need to pony it up. Evan has claimed publicly in her testimony before the California Senate Public Safety Committee that she has photographs, she has videos. It's not just reliant on her memory. And we're all still kind of waiting to see what any of that is.
Yeah, now would be
sounds a lot like the kinds of things we heard from Amber Heard about her mountains of evidence that never materialized.
That's so right. And, you know, I understand that there is a lot more hesitation on the part of Johnny Depp supporters to climb on the bandwagon with this case because of there are a lot of accusers and so on and so forth, and his image and all that, Manson's image. But you really have to understand that when you start looking at this, it's like you just said, Andrea, when you start looking at the evidence that's been presented, like now is the time, Evan. You can get by for only so long and saying, oh, I've got all these videotapes and he filmed it, and I've got all this evidence and pictures and document. Okay, now's the time. And the reason why, to those who don't understand, the reason why we believe Manson is innocent is because of the compelling evidence that he's shown. So to me, I know this is a controversial case for a lot of people, but to me, and it sounds like to you, it's increasingly becoming non-controversial in terms of the evidence.
Well, and it's just really the same playbook that we saw with the Depp versus Heard as well, that where there it was, we're going to try Johnny for having, you know, alcohol and substance issues.
Right.
Here it's, we're going to try Marilyn Manson for having the sort of creepy, you know, public persona that he's, you know, made albums with Satanist themes, you know, therefore he's everything terrible that anybody could possibly accuse him of being. And that doesn't fly. That's not proof of any particular allegation of wrongdoing. So when it comes down to the actual specifics of what they say he did, so far the evidence in support of those is really not compelling.